for paying. But when you press the links, they need money to continue. So yeah, it's like crazy, but we expect to lost over 2 days in Vancouver, and we are not able to enjoy these days here.
This comes as the union representing flight attendants and the airline are at an impasse in contract negotiations. The major sticking points here are wages and something called ground pay, which covers the work that flight attendants do before boarding and after deplaning. And more than 10,000 flight attendants could walk off the job Saturday. An out-of-control fire south of Port Alberni has grown now to more than 34 square kilometers. The Mount Underwood wildfire was discovered on Monday and doubled in size in 24 hours. Right now, the fire is bigger than the size of Victoria. And the BC Wildfire Service describes this blaze as aggressive and explosive. The agency says the extreme fire behavior is unusual for Vancouver Island, saying this rapid growth is due to a severe drought. Now, rain is in the forecast, but there are still concerns it will only provide temporary relief.
The wind is looking to back off a little bit. The temperatures are dropping, the relative humidity is increasing, and hopefully all of this coming to a rain event that should help us with, it's not going to put out the fire, but it should help us in terms of limiting fire growth.
And firefighters are focusing on the northern flank of the fire that's closest to the community of Port Alberni, though the Wildfire Service does say that that community is not in danger as the wind has shifted. Now, meanwhile, more than 500 properties in Bamfield are still without power due to this fire. An air quality advisory has also been issued due to the smoke, and that's been expanded. It now covers parts of Vancouver Island, the Northern Gulf Islands, and the Sunshine Coast. And German football star Thomas Müller is officially a Vancouver Whitecap. The club introduced the player Thursday morning, and right away he was asked about his decision to join the team.
For me, it was time also a little bit for an adventure. But an adventure for me is only interesting when it's about having the chance to go for titles. And yeah, if you watch the Vancouver Whitecaps this season, and also the development in the last years, there is a chance.
And the German star has a World Cup win under his belt, plus 2 UEFA Champions League titles. He signed for the rest of the 2025 season with the Whitecaps and may play his first game for the team on Sunday. And that's it for now. I am Jessica Chung. You are watching CBC News BC. Don't go anywhere because BC Today is up next.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. It is a rough job market out there for many young Canadians. Statistics Canada says the youth unemployment rate hit close to 15% recently, especially tough for high school students. What is the employment picture for young people in your life? And in our second half, do you have a tattoo? All kinds of people get inked for all sorts of reasons. What's the story behind your design? Our designs. An expert tattoo artist will be here and we'll take your calls. I'm Dan Burwood, in for Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. Thanks for joining us on radio, TV, and live stream. You're welcome to call us now on our top story. What is the youth employment situation for people in your life? If you are a young person, are you able to find a job? If you're an employer looking for young people, are you able to find them? Call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733 in Metro Vancouver. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. Again, please be pulled over or hands-free if you're operating a vehicle. You can email us, bctoday@cbc.ca, and on TikTok, message us at CBC British Columbia. We want to go to a major story that's affecting hundreds of thousands of people across this country first. The potential strike and or lockout this weekend from Air Canada and flight attendants. So you want to make sure to check your flight status if you're planning to fly that airline later this week. Air Canada has now begun canceling flights ahead of a potential labor disruption, including flights set to take off today. The airline says it's gradually shutting down operations, and this could affect more than 10,000 flight attendants who could walk off the job as of Saturday. For more on this, Pinki Wong is at the Vancouver International Airport. She's been there for much of the week talking with people. Pinki, what's happening at YVR now?
Yeah, Dan, so it's been very busy at the airport today. We know that staff at the information counter told me they're receiving more inquiries about people flying with Air Canada, inquiring about the possible impact from the job action by the Air Canada flight attendants with QP. And we've also been talking to passengers, as you said, and some are saying they feel lucky then because they're flying out without being impacted, but some are worried about returning flights. And there's also passengers who are trying to reschedule the flight but having trouble to connect with Air Canada staff. We talked to YVR and they said they have increased staffing at the terminals to help with affected passengers too. But take a listen to what passengers have to say.
I'm in the phone during 10 minutes and nobody is answering me. Nothing. So we receive an email, we receive some links to change without any more extra money for paying. But when you press the links, they need money to continue. So yeah, it's like crazy, but we expect to lose over 2 days in Vancouver and we are not able to enjoy these days here in order to come back to Spain today.
We've been okay. We're delayed half an hour this morning, but I don't think that's related, is it?
I'm sort of lucky. I'm glad that my flight is this morning and not tomorrow or Saturday. Yeah.
I used to be a flight attendant 20 years ago, and I approve why they're doing this. Yeah, they should be paid.
Pinki, we also heard plenty from Air Canada as well as the Union for Flight Attendants. What's the latest from both sides there?
Yeah, Dan, so Air Canada this morning held a press conference and they said they were doubling down. They're moving forward with these flight cancellations this day. And earlier we know that there's also just a handful of flights being affected this morning. So far, there are 4 cancellations from what we are seeing, and mostly are local. They're flying from YVR to Toronto, to Edmonton, and to Montreal. And there was supposed to be an international flight going to Sydney, but that has also been canceled. Take a listen to the Air Canada Chief Human Resource Officer.
We never left the table. We are engaged throughout the entire process. We have made offers and responded to every offer QP has made, including the last one. We are still available to bargain at any time, on the condition that the negotiation has substance.
And we also spoke with a union representative this morning. They say they don't want a third-party arbitrator. Then they said because the arbitrators usually rely on precedent and the status quo to make their determinations. But what Air Canada flight attendants are trying to do here is to break that status quo to end what they said the historical abuse of unpaid work in the industry. And take a listen to Henley Larden. She's the union representative.
We feel horrible that it's come to this, truly. It comes down to Air Canada stepping up and paying for this unpaid work and bringing forth a tentative agreement for ratification that does actually address all of the concerns of unpaid work and brings the current status of our employees up above the poverty line.
So right now, both Air Canada and the union says they're ready to negotiate, but we don't know what's going to happen. Is there going to be the full lockdown on Saturday, Dan?
All right, the CBC's Pinki Wong reporting from Vancouver International Airport. Pinki, thank you very much. And you can read much more on that story on our website, cbc.ca/BC, and across all of our broadcast platforms. It is 12:11. This is BC Today. We want to pick up on some emails we got on the Air Canada job action on lockout. We're going to get to your calls in just a moment. Carol Ann in Roberts Creek says, why isn't anyone questioning why staff work for free until the plane is in the air while their CEO takes home $12.4 million a year? Marin says, my question is, what happens if someone is injured during this unpaid time? Flight attendants may be assisting with lifting, carry-on luggage, etc. Will they be covered for any, quote, work injuries when they are not being paid? Mina, says, cancel your flights to show support for the workers. Maybe easier said than done based on some of the calls we got yesterday. And Shirley says, I joined Trans-Canada Airlines in 1960. In 62, we were prepared to strike for this very same reason. I remember working 14-hour days and being paid for 7. I can't believe this is still happening. And last one on this one, Terry says, I'm a retired Air Canada employee. I worked for 2 national airlines and retired with 31 years seniority at YVR. Never did I work without being paid. Pay the flight attendants from when they check into the airport gates at the very least. And we know that we're trying to get more information about either side's offers and counter offers, but because they're not bargaining in public fully, it's a bit difficult for us to do that. And lastly, on BC's Best Symbol, and we'll have more to say about this as well, Lynn wrote to say, I find it interesting the most votes for a symbol that represents our province go once again to the people of the coast of BC. The orca and the totem are both coastal symbols. The salmon are the bearer everywhere in BC, so those symbols would be more relevant to the whole province, not just the coast. Appreciate all your calls and emails, and we'll get to more of them throughout this afternoon and tomorrow. You're watching and listening to BC Today. It is the dog days of summer for some Canadians who are young trying to find jobs. Statistics Canada says the youth unemployment rate in this country has hit 14.6%. Barring the pandemic years, those are the highest numbers since September of 2010. But some employers say they're struggling to find staff, particularly younger ones. To find out more about how businesses are seeking out those younger workers, the CBC's Liam Britton caught up with Brad McLeod. He's the president of Sea Lovers Fish and Chip Shop in Langley.
We don't get where we used to get kids coming in the door with a resume and saying, here, I'd like to put my resume in if you're looking for work. We don't see that. We'll get a response through our website or whatever, but a lot of that is looking for jobs that don't work weekends and stuff like that are very restrictive.
Do you have a big stack of resumes?
No, we don't have many at all. We don't. No, we most of our locations are short staffed right now. Like when I see the stats about what the unemployment rate is, I don't get it because we are all looking for staff. I don't think we have any location that isn't fully staffed. Without foreign workers, we don't have the staff to operate our businesses. It's a fact. The funny thing is, it's very hard nowadays to it because there doesn't seem to be. We do Indeed and different internet-based stuff like that, but we get a response from that, but people don't show up for interviews. We could sit down and book 5 interviews, and you're lucky if one shows up.
Why do you think that is?
I don't. I wish you had an answer for me because I can't figure it out. We're looking for assistant manager in our location in Vernon, and just the other day, he had 6 interviews. Not one showed up.
CBC's Liam Britton speaking with Brad McLeod, the president of Sea Lovers Fish and Chip Place in Langley. We're asking you, what's the job situation for young people in your life? Are you a younger person looking for work? How's that going? If you're an employer like Sea Lovers, are you looking for younger staff, and how is that journey going? Call us now, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, pound 690 on your cell phone. And some of you are already on the line. We'll get your calls in just a moment. Email us, bctoday@cbc.ca, or leave a comment on our TikTok Live. Our guest today is Janet Morris-Reade, an employment expert and the CEO of BC's Association of Service Providers for Employability and Career Training, also known as ASPECT. Thank you very much for joining us today, Janet.
Thank you for having me.
What are you seeing in the field today as these youth unemployment numbers ratchet up, hit its peak since 2010?
Yeah, no, the numbers are alarming. They always are alarming when they come out for youth unemployment. And it's something that not only ASPECT working provincially, but we're working federally as well with our partners across Canada to try and figure out what can be done.
And how's that going?
Well, one of the things, you know, whenever there's a problem, you try to look for the gaps of what's missing, what's happening on the ground that people are not aware of. And one of the things that we've identified is that we have a system in BC of publicly funded employment service providers. And these are community-based contractors for the provincial government and the federal government that deliver employment services for people that are looking for jobs, looking to upskill, looking to learn the skills that they need to be successful in employment, and also identify what types of jobs are best for them, as well as how they can move and navigate throughout employment in their career, whether they're a youth or an adult or a senior returning to the workforce.
Let's go to Trudy in Vancouver. Thanks for waiting on the line, Trudy. What do you think of what's happening with youth unemployment?
Well, I have a suggestion to make. If they cannot find a job, they can try a farmer, a berry farmer, for instance. The blueberries don't wait, they have to be harvested, and they need people to harvest them. So I would like to make a suggestion that they try out a farmer because it can be a lifelong experience, not only working for a berry farmer, but for a farmer in general.
Yeah. Trudy, may I ask, do you have young people or younger people in your life? And if so, do they have jobs?
No, but I come from a farm, so I can feel for a farmer who has to harvest and doesn't have people.
Yeah, that would be a problem. When we know there have been concerns, we heard from the Sea Lovers Fish and Chip man around concerns around the crackdown, but the lowering of foreign workers who have come into this country, many of whom have done jobs that have been lower paying, and if I don't want to say lower skilled, but certainly that has been a challenge for some employers. Janet, what do you make of what Trudy suggested there?
Yeah, no, there definitely is a shortage, and this circles back to what services that are available out there. In 160 communities throughout the province, we have employment service providers that can work with youth to try and identify those in-demand employers and prepare them or connect them to the employers. They also work with the employers who are wanting to recruit staff to figure out what they need to do to attract the youth to their organization or business. And, you know, with the interview with the person from Sea Lovers, he wanted to know why is there the disconnect? And it flagged for me already, and this might also be for Trudy as well, is that so many of the youth that are searching for jobs are doing so online. Mm-hmm. And the challenge with that is they're putting out, 200, 300 resumes, applying for everything that's on the internet, not hearing back from anybody, and then feeling dejected, like the hit to their confidence is really low. Mm-hmm. On the employer side, they just don't have the staff or the ability to scan through all of those resumes. And, he is completely right. youth are not walking into businesses with their resume like they once were. The employment world is changing, and it's changed a lot, probably because of the pandemic, but also because the youth that are coming out of the pandemic are trying to search in different ways than the traditional ways of looking for jobs. So there's that disconnect right there.
It's a bit of a reset. Certainly when I was a mildly younger person, you went into the restaurant or the store armed with a resume at a certain time. You don't, if it's a restaurant, you don't go in at the height of breakfast, lunch, or dinner service. You go in those low moments where they're not as busy. We are talking about youth employment and unemployment in this country. If you know a young person or you are a young person looking for work, give us a call now. Tell us about your experience. 1-800-825-5950. Our number in Metro Vancouver, 604-669-3733. You can email bctoday@cbc.ca and on TikTok, CBC British Columbia. Mike is on the line in West Vancouver. Mike, I understand your son is looking for work?
Yes, he was, and he couldn't find a job. But I think it's like your other guest was saying. He was applying online. He did get 1 day's work from a farmer for doing hay. Sure. Because he was one of our neighbors. But other than that, he hasn't found anything.
Now, and what is he? So he's applied online. Has he gone into any other stores? As we've heard that may be the strategy now.
No, he didn't do that. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's one reason he might not have gotten a job. But quite a few students have gotten jobs.
Mm-hmm. Is your son going into university or another grade in high school, or what's next?
You know, he's going into grade 11.
Okay. So I guess a job is not on the table while he's at school right now?
Well, not while he's at school, no. Maybe he can get something part-time, but he's also involved in other activities.
Mike, just to wrap up, how's he feeling about all this?
Well, he's doing okay. I mean, he's not depressed. He plays video games all the time anyway.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, some people get paid for that, but not everybody. Mike, we appreciate your call. Thanks very much. We're going to go to another call in just a moment. On TikTok, notwithstanding, Rob says, ask the employers how much they've increased wages. Janet, I want to go to you with this. We've heard this call out from employers. We need workers. We need younger people. And a lot of the response is, how much are you paying? Because life, particularly in BC, is bloody expensive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the living wage through most of BC is $27 an hour or more. Mm-hmm. And, although Sea Lover sounds like it's got a good plan with tips and everything, they're paying out at 25 in an earlier interview. So that's really, really good. It's a challenge for employers right now because costs are very high. They've got a lot of cost of hiring people is also very high. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge risk to hire youth that may not have any job skills and that may require training. But unfortunately, that's kind of the market we're in right now, is that employers that's another expense that they're going to have to consider if they want to find the staff that they need.
And particularly, we should add some context to this. Post the depths of the pandemic that cratered the world economy, inflation, trade war pressure with the United States, it's a bit of a perfect storm of negativity for people who may be out looking for work, right?
Yeah, I mean, the stats number were devastating, but not surprising. And, if you look around to everybody that's around you, anybody that works for government, that works in small to medium-sized enterprises, everywhere, post-secondary institutions, there's cutbacks and streamlining. It's a really difficult environment to be in right now. But then on the flip side, there's a lot of jobs that are out there. It's just we need to get some help in how to identify them. And that's what I'm saying is within your community, there's help for youth that are looking for jobs.
I want to get to those employment service providers and what they're offering in just a moment, Janet. Charlie Maloche on TikTok says you can't hand deliver resumes anymore. You get told to go online or it hits the round file bin. Let's go to another call now. Robert is in Port Coquitlam. Robert, what do you make of what's happening with youth unemployment?
Yeah, I think the issue is the framing of this is very centered towards the employer. Is there a shortage of available labor or is there a shortage of wages? For example, if you go on Indeed right now, Sea Lovers in Kelowna has a posting, but they're only offering $17.85 an hour. So, if, like your guest there said, the living wage is more like $27. That's a huge disconnect. So, without foreign workers, a lot of these businesses would probably fail, but maybe a lot of them, that's what should happen if they can't actually offer a wage to attract workers. Attract Canadian workers in Canada.
It's a difficult position that we find on both sides, and particularly when we've talked to particularly small and medium-sized businesses. Robert, thanks for your call. They say, here's what we are able to offer, and a lot of them are doing their best to offer more, but there comes a point perhaps where it is not profitable. But we have heard those concerns about the lack of foreign workers, making it more difficult for employers to find people locally. Let's go to Mike in Vancouver. Mike, a bit of a struggle for your daughter, I understand, to find a job.
Yeah, that's right. She's turning 18 tomorrow. She graduated from high school in the spring. She's worked the past 2 years at a little service place on Granville Island in the summer, and that job wasn't available this summer. They said it was a bit slow, but she's recently got it back. But she had been out applying for jobs, physically applying for jobs, and was just not getting anything. And I have a question for one of your guests, because I went on the federal government website and I looked at the temporary foreign worker program, and it seems that a lot of businesses are able to apply for exemptions. And so I had heard that it was shut down or cut back. And yet when I go into, say, Tim Hortons or A&W, it seems to be fully employed or fully staffed with possibly temporary foreign workers. So those jobs, which were available to high school kids as a first job or a second job or whatever, are now gone. And so I'm just wondering if your guest could elaborate on that and clarify that if that is the case, because the kids are out applying for jobs, not just online, and they're still having a hard time finding them.
Mike, thanks for your call. And just before I put that to you, Janet, we should not make an assumption that if around temporary foreign workers based on somebody's appearance or background, regardless of where they work. But Janet, go ahead if you can respond to Mike's query there.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. The temporary foreign worker program has been really successful in the past, and I think it's scaled down a bit, but it continues to be, and it's an important part of moving our economy forward. But I also want to circle back onto the youth that are entering into the workforce. Bravo to your daughter for going in physically and getting employment that way. But there's it kind of goes back to what the person that was interviewed from Sea Lovers is that, we've got like a traditional employment environment and then an emerging employment environment with a large group of people looking for jobs. So there needs to be a bit more of a connection between the two and a bit of a change of the way that we approach hiring people as well as people who are wanting to be hired. And that's kind of why we're talking about career services, but also we're in a situation of flux, and what's happens in one community that works in one community doesn't necessarily work in another community. So that's kind of the challenge, and that's why you need experts within the community to help you navigate that.
We're speaking about youth unemployment and employment with Janet Morris-Reade from Aspect. We're going to extend this segment a little bit. We've got more calls on the line. Steve in White Rock, please stay with us. Keep those emails and calls coming in. Let's pause for a news update with Tarnjeet Parmar.
Good
Good afternoon. Officials on Vancouver Island have declared a local state of emergency due to the wildfire burning near Port Alberni. The Mount Underwood fire is classified as out of control and is more than 3,400 hectares in size. The BC Wildfire Service says crews were out overnight to monitor conditions. 87 fire personnel have responded to this fire, as well as 11 helicopters bucketing water onto the flames. Environment Canada has issued a rainfall warning for parts of Metro Vancouver as well as the lower Sunshine Coast and Howe Sound regions. Tomorrow, heavy rain is expected at times, and some areas could get as much as 80 millimeters of rain. The BC Wildfire Service is also hoping that rain will help with the Mount Underwood fire that is burning again on Vancouver Island. And Air Canada will be cancelling some flights this afternoon as it prepares for a possible strike or lockout this weekend. Around 500 flights could be cancelled by tomorrow evening, affecting more than 100,000 customers. The airline's 10,000 flight attendants will be in a legal strike position late tomorrow night Pacific time. The two sides remain far apart on a number of issues like wages and unpaid time. Those are your news headlines. For more information, you can go to the website cbc.ca/BC, or you can use the CBC News app.
Tarnjeet Parmar, thank you very much. Tarnjeet Parmar in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. And we're going to extend this segment. We're talking about youth unemployment and those who are seeking jobs, employers who are trying to find younger people. A lot of you have emailed in. Keep those emails and calls coming. We're going to get to Steve in White Rock in just a moment. John Bell emailed us to say, how entitled are these young kids to refuse to work on weekends? I worked in tourism for 32 years, and it took close to 30 of those years to get a Saturday off. Suck it up, baby. We also have, let me just see here. Oh, Arden. Arden is a grade 10 student in BC. This is not directly related point, but says, I think what needs to be considered as a student in BC is understanding our workers' rights. I don't personally struggle with this, but I know it happens through friends, whereas a youth, it's easy to have the wool pulled over our eyes by employers because we're young and not considered to know what our rights are. Arden, thank you very much for that. We appreciate the call or the email. Let's go back to our calls now. Steve in White Rock. Thanks for waiting, Steve. What's the situation for you?
Well, I'm a 30-year career teacher who was retired for 2 years and has gone back into teaching and all at the high school level. In my 30 years of teaching, I was able every year to field all kinds of calls from local businesses looking for young adults that were about to emerge into the workforce, and was able to furnish many names. That diminished over the years significantly. Now, going back just last year for the first time after 2 years being out, I was stunned at the issue with cell phones and electronic media addiction, and the numbers are huge. So what I would consider, I could not refer. Last year, I referred 2 students to local employers who were looking, and that's the only 2 that I felt confident. Many of the rest are wonderful kids, but lack focus. They're not able to sort of stick with on task assignments. And the addiction to the phones, I'm sorry, is really, really serious. And that's something that employers are going to have to contend with, is this lack of the ability to stay on task and stay off phones. It's a real deal.
Steve, appreciate your call. Can I ask you quickly, why did you decide to go back to teaching?
Shortage of my specialty area, and real serious shortage. Otherwise, I'd be fishing right now.
Okay. Can I ask what your specialty area is?
I was a woodshop teacher, but also a academic.
Wow. Okay. So you were still in demand. That's got to be rewarding.
It is rewarding. I love the age bracket. Don't tell anybody I said that out loud.
Yeah, we'll keep that between you and I. Janet, interesting. I have to put this to you. Perhaps is it just because it is such a different cohort of young people that we're dealing with? And I don't want to box them all in and label them, but the devices are a thing. I don't think it's fair to say that they're all addicted, but have you heard that?
Well, yes, of course. That's a
as a concern.
Yeah, I haven't heard it as a concern, but this is a perfect example of an expert, Stephen, who is a career educator with a history of career educator, and how those personal connections can help youth attach to a job, and how employers can attach to a resource that will help them find employees. But the complaints about phone addiction and not being ready to be referred to a job, those are employability skills. That's basic understanding of the labor market that maybe the youth haven't had access to. I like to blame the pandemic, but a lot of youth developed mental health issues during the pandemic, lack of confidence, digital focus. And I think that that's kind of what's playing out in the labor market right now as when it pertains to youth, especially.
I think it's
but I also think it's very easy to fix that. And that's, skills training and understanding the labor market a little bit better. It's entirely fixable. It's not a doom and gloom situation here.
Let's go to Yvette in Victoria. Thanks for waiting, Yvette. What's your situation?
Oh, hi. Thanks for taking my call. Yes, we're actually, I guess you would say, a small to medium-sized business. We're employers, and we're located in Duncan. And we have been seriously trying to find good, and I say young because we have a lot of people retiring, people to apply at our work. And we offer good wages. We have a benefits package. We're just kind of stumped by it. We've had very, very little people walking in the door. Advertised on Instagram, and we're just really perplexed.
May I ask, Yvette, if I can ask, what is a good, when you say good wage, what do you offer?
Okay, so we're not government, so we are private employers, but we offer, our people that have been with us, they work anywhere from 35 to 45. Management is more like 45 to 55.
That's
and
$1,000 a year,
wage,
or?
But it's an apprentice. We've even offered, I think, up to $22 to $25 an hour for an apprenticeship.
Oh, per hour. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting, Yvette. I appreciate your call. It's Janet. You can hear the frustration in Yvette's voice, trying to see what more perhaps she can do. Maybe that plays to some of the employment services providers that you've been referring to. Tell us a bit more about them.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I empathize so much, Yvette. I understand it's a very difficult labor market out there right now. Excuse me. The only thing I can suggest is there are employment service providers in Duncan. I'm thinking of like Ethos Career Management Group and a few others that do really good work working with employers to help them understand where they may be falling short, why they're not getting the people they need to get. And they can help you with, job postings and look at your compensation packages and look at what the labor market out there is looking for to help you. So you're not trying to do it by yourself. And that's kind of the message, is that they're here to help. And they're getting paid by the government to help you. Right. So there's an opportunity for you to reach out to them in your community.
Karen is in Summerland. Karen, what's your situation?
So, I'm from Summerland. Thanks for taking my call. So, the young kids over here, they do have a lot of opportunities, as it's a small town, but there are a bunch of small food outlets over here, Tim Hortons, Subway, this, that, and most of the time, the employers, they are willing to take the foreign workers just as the employees. The only reason is that they are more productive. They do work for the less wage. I completely agree with that, but they're willing to work hard. So whenever they do make the commitment that, hey, we're going to show tomorrow, 4 a.m. in the morning, and they do show up. So that these are one of the reasons that why most, few of the Canadians, they are kind of being ignored. So I hope you got my message.
Yes, Karen, I appreciate your call. It goes back to one of our other. You've raised some concerns that other callers have had about that. Janet, in the time we have left, if somebody is looking for that help from an employment service provider, where should they go? Is there a specific website? Is there an office? What do you suggest?
Go to Google and put in employment services for youth, and what will pop up is a whole bunch of different resources and programs and contacts in your community that you can access. If I were to give some advice to youth that were struggling right now, I would first of all say don't get discouraged because there's people there to help you. And wherever you can, make the personal connections. So connect to friends that are in a job that you think you might like. That's the way many small and medium-sized businesses are hiring right now, is through friends of friends, because then they don't have to go through the 200 resumes. If you're an employer and you're really struggling, as I'd mentioned to Yvette, reach out to your local community employment service provider. They can probably take a look at what your what your job description and what you're offering will do and how it might be able to fit with the current labor market. And if you're a family member or an adult supporting a youth, just try to be as supportive and understand that the labor market that you entered into is very different than the labor market that the youth entered into. And as we found out in my own family, I have two young daughters, comparing their pathway and your pathway is really not very helpful and not appreciated.
That's good advice. Janet Morris-Reade, an employment expert who represents community-based training agencies. Janet joined us from Victoria. Janet, thank you for your time and your expertise.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
You are listening to BC and watching BC Today on CBC. We're on Radio 1, CBC Television, and live streaming on our website, cbc.ca/BC. YouTube as well there at CBC Vancouver and on the CBC News app. Coming up, we're talking tattoos. Do you have one? What does it mean to you? Please call and email us and let us know as we chat with an ink master. And that'll be coming up rather quickly, I should say. Time to check in with what's happening on your afternoon shows across Metro Vancouver on CBC. And here's what's coming up on the coast.
Dan, hello there. It's Gloria Makarenko here, and I'd like to tell you about a few things we've got lined up for On the Coast this afternoon. Do you remember Western tent caterpillars? These are the caterpillars. Their populations grow massively about once every decade, and then they just seem to vanish. The last time they did that was in 2023, and it really made a lot of news stories for sure. So today we're going to talk to an expert who has spent his life studying these caterpillars. He'll shed more light on just why they live on this cycle. Also, we will have two young women basketball players join us, and this is ahead of the first WNBA game outside of the USA taking place at Rogers Arena on Friday. We're going to talk to them about their experience and what they make of the growth of women's basketball. And of course, it's a very exciting day for soccer fans here in Vancouver. Thomas Muller has a press conference to meet some of his fans, and we're going to hear more from him later this afternoon as well.
Danke schön, Gloria. Yes, you can hear On the Coast on CBC Radio 1 in Metro Vancouver and anywhere on the CBC News app. Just before we get to our next segment, we have some developing news from Canada's Minister of Jobs and Family. She's issued a statement regarding the dispute between CUPE flight attendants and Air Canada. Patty Haidu says, yesterday, I asked CUPE Air Canada flight attendants to respond to Air Canada's request that I make a referral under Section 107 of the Canada Labour Code to send the parties to binding arbitration. The union has asked to have until Friday, August 15th at 12 p.m. Eastern, tomorrow, to respond, and I have agreed to that request. She has emphasized before that a deal done at the bargaining table is best, and that is what she is asking both parties to do. Well, a tattoo certainly does tell a story. Political, religious, social, fun, sad, memorable, or just plain silly. For those who do get them, have them, and those who create them, it can be a very personal experience, and they spark all sorts of conversations. We want to hear from you now. Do you have a tattoo or tattoos? And what does it or they mean to you? Why did you decide to get them? How do people react to them? What do they ask you? Call us now, 1-800-825-5950 across our great big province, 604-669-3733 in Metro Vancouver, pound 690 on your cell. Please be pulled over or hands-free. If you're driving or operating a vehicle, you can email BC Today at cbc.ca or leave a comment on our TikTok Live. Joining us now, Chris Hold, tattoo artist at Palace Tattoo. Chris, nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me, Dan.
How did you get into this?
I would say the gateway drug for me was skateboarding.
We've heard that before.
Yeah, it's definitely a creative force that has a visual dimension to it. And it also kind of encompasses music as well as many other factors. But getting into skateboarding got me into art. It got me into music, and seeing a lot of my favorite hardcore musicians that were covered in tattoos inspired me to do it. It just felt like that was a belonging thing.
And making connections with others, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your website, chrisholt.com, has examples of your work. There's beautiful stuff in there. Where did I have that here? Now they've got animals, lanterns, people. For those who have not seen them yet, it's worth going to the website, folks. How long would it take you normally to do an average one, if we can call it that?
Sure. I mean, what we might call average on the body, like in relation to the body's dimensions, something palm size or hand size. If it's on a limb, it'll be a little quicker than somewhere that's elastic, like on the torso.
Sure.
So something like that could be an hour to 2 hours, depending on how intricate it is. But we tattoo in a way at our shop. We like to tattoo in a classic traditional way, which dictates sort of the aesthetic, which is strong, iconic, simple, and clear, easy to read, and it has great longevity, so you can wear it until you're 6 feet underground.
And impress the people who may be joining you like that. That's right. Now, we have also another special guest with us, our colleague Steve Venegas, who likes to flash off the ink that Chris has done on him. I think we can probably tilt the camera a little bit, maybe. There we are. Steve, thank you for joining us. So for both of you, and feel free to chime in. Chris, why don't we start with you? Let's pick one of the designs we have on here. Steve, you mentioned the ace up the sleeve. Is that right? There we are. And the anchor tattoo, beautiful. Okay. And then the top one there, another anchor tattoo. And the anvil, I should say. And that eagle as well. Can you turn and give us a flex there?
Look at those ripples.
Beautiful, beautiful. So in terms of all of this art, what did Steve tell you about what he wanted to do?
We start off when we're doing a tattoo with him. He's a pretty seasoned collector of tattoos at this point.
Indeed.
So he'll really just say, I'm looking for an umbrella, something like one you've done before or one that he's seen somewhere, or we're trying to integrate maybe like a classic pop culture or video game emblem with classic tattoo vernacular. And so he really just leaves it up to me, and I try to go for the thing that's going to fit the spot. Like we always can consider how will it fit on the body, how is it going to jigsaw in with what else is there. So that's a critical part. Fit and flow on the body is a really important part of it.
Interesting. Okay, so
we look at the way the muscles connect and stuff, and does it land in a spot that just kind of has this obvious peace and balance on that part of the body.
And I guess, I mean, for Steve, he's so ripped, it's hard to get to add extra ink, don't you?
I think that's why he's been working out so hard, is he has more surface area to tattoo.
That's right. Steve, you're a good sport. Thank you for joining us. Steve Venegas.
Thank you.
Our
tattoo model.
Our master tattoo model. Checks in the mail. Let's go to Elda in Prince George. Elda, you have a tattoo. Tell us about it.
Yeah. I got the tattoo after my son died. My oldest son died in 2022 of fentanyl poisoning. I knew I wanted to get a tattoo. It was about a year and a half later that I was on a wonderful trip with my other son, Ben, to New Zealand to get a conference there, and then we were traveling. And we were just about heading back to Canada and standing outside a kitchen at a campground. I was kind of lost in thought and thinking about tattoos, and this woman gave me a wonderful smile. And I said, I'm fine. I'm just thinking about a tattoo. And she had one, and she showed me, and I thought, And I said, is that somebody's name? And it was her son's name, and he had died 9 years earlier. And I mentioned that my son had died. And we were quite amazed at this encounter, and we left each other. And Ben and I toddled on towards the airport, and we stopped at the Auckland Botanical Gardens, and one of the trees was named Luke. and that was my son's name who had died. So I took a photo of that tree, and there was movement in the photo. So it had been photobombed. So I looked at the photo, and I have the photo, and there was a little bird in the photo, just above it was on top of the sign that said Luke. And then this bird followed Ben and I was so glad Ben was with me so that he was part of this. And it went zipping in between us, and it would land on a tree, 'cause we were sort of looking through all the trees in here in this orchard, and it was quite annoying. And it would get about a foot away from one of us, and then the other one. It was just right there in between us. And then the last couple of trees in this orchard, this lasted for about 15 minutes. One was named Divinus, and the other one was Angelica. And I'd have to say that Luke was not either of those. But he was.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, that's right. So because I had the photo, I was able to look it up on Google Lens to see what kind of bird this was. And it was a fantail, and also known as a piwaka waka in Maori tradition. And in Maori traditions, fantails are considered messengers between the worlds.
Wow. There you go.
So I talked to my son Ben. I said, I think you're getting that as a tattoo. And he said, to do what made me happy. And so that's what I did.
Elda, thank you. Amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing story, and a lasting memory, and clearly, and what a connection you made with that other woman under very difficult circumstances. Elda, thank you for sharing that story with us. Best to you, and what a lovely memory you've shared with us. They're clearly, Chris Holt, they're clearly for different people, they're clearly very personal.
Absolutely.
And that's the most personal we've heard so far.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Let's go to Brent in Vernon. Brent, do you have a tattoo?
Yes, I do. It's almost the antithesis. Mine is a kind of a non-tattoo. When I retired, I wanted something to sort of mark it as an epic event, and I really couldn't think of anything that was a real token, that something iconic that would would last without. So what I came up with was a stretched skin frame on my arm, on my forearm. And so it covers my my pectoral down through to my bicep. And above it, it says your art. And then below it, it says here. So you have to blank out the rasa. And I carry Sharpies.
You must be popular at the beach.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Little kids are really fun, because if you're at a music festival or something, they go, "How come you've got Sharpies in your pocket?" Because they see that, they don't see the tattoo, and then they're pretty thrilled when they get to draw something on my arm. But there's one stipulation.
Yeah.
I insist that I get a picture with the creator, not the creator, I would say. That would be a tattoo.
No kidding. Sure. Yeah.
With the artist who does the tattoo.
Yeah.
And also a close-up of the tattoo, because, of course, it's on my arm and I can't see it.
Right.
So, and the only stipulation is it can't be rude, and you can let your imagination go with what is not allowed.
Indeed, we can. Brent, thanks so much for the call. Chris, that's very creative. I haven't heard that. What are some of the more creative things that people have asked you to do? Anything in that vein?
I had somebody come in with a tattoo that they'd, I guess, outgrown. Maybe it was at a time in their life when they were particularly party-centric and had got this tattoo that they outgrown, and they got "This tattoo sucks" with a big arrow pointing to it. But I like the last caller's artistic way of framing it, no pun intended. But I think that's a nice way to inspire people to fill in the blanks, and also kind of, experience something of what it feels like to draw on a body. It's not a substrate most artists work on, right? Like skin and human beings.
Yeah. Living canvas.
It's a different experience than doing it on something that doesn't move or talk back. But I think that's also the beauty of it, is the connections that you have with people through the long hours spent together, and they're going through some pain, and you kind of Sherpa them through it in a way. Yeah.
Let's go to Barbara, or Barbara in Black Creek writes to us to say, after getting through 11 months of breast cancer treatment, a good friend gave me a silver bracelet with the words, "Fire cannot kill," a dragon engraved on it. I had the words tattooed on my ankle, and I dragon boat. Barbara, bless you. Well done. That's a great idea.
Absolutely.
Chris Holt, if someone is on the fence about a tattoo, how do you talk to them about that?
Well, I really believe that the desire to be a tattooed person has to be a strong one that comes from inside you. I never want to compel anyone to do it. I think it's a journey that you need to take on your own and take ownership over the symbol that you're going to wear, especially that first one. You know, that saying that toast can never be bread again. Once you cross that threshold and you transform into a tattooed person, you're not really the same again. There's something profound about that, walking across that threshold. And I love it when people have some event in their life, like maybe it's a loss or maybe it's I call it the coming and going. It's like, you know, you have a kid, you maybe want to mark that special moment, or someone leaves your life, you want to mark that moment. But it has to be something that comes from inside you that you care about enough to represent it on the outside of your body. And then basically I'm the messenger, I'm the vehicle to translate whatever that is onto your body. Yeah.
If someone, we know you mentioned this idea of living canvas, if someone's nervous about needles and there is some, whatever pain is involved, what's the process of taking them through that?
Well, I like to say that we use pins and not needles, even though it's a subtle distinction. When I think of a needle, I think of giving blood or having an injection, which are fairly large hollow needles. A tattoo actually uses needles that are in a cluster. And they're so fine that if I hit you with a single one, you would barely feel it. So I try to give you a little background on what the physical parts of the application are. And then just concentrating on your breathing, almost having like a meditative state when you're getting tattooed. Initially, at least, your body will I've never really had anybody not rise to the occasion, but your body will fill you with enough adrenaline that you make it through that tough first few minutes. And then usually for 2-3 hours, most people are in some discomfort, but nothing serious. It's not any worse than a cat scratch, really.
Good to know. Chris Holt, the tattoo artist at Palace Tattoo, we really appreciate your time and your perspective, and you have awesome ink. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.